Okay, well, good morning, everybody. We're going to officially start our ADT session today. So, hope you all had a good 4th of July. I was saying thank you to Steve and Sandra for hosting last week's agent development training. I was out of town with my family on a little vacation, so nice to get away. But obviously, Cav covered the Health Protector Guard, and I do believe that that's going to continue to be a more and more viable option for clients, especially as we move into the OEP season this coming fall. One of the things that we're expecting to happen this fall is the federal subsidies, the enhanced subsidies that have been available for the last couple of years. Right now, we're planning as if those are going to sunset or go away. And if that were to happen, we would see many of our consumers that are getting heavy federal government subsidies in the ACA market today potentially lose those subsidies or lose a portion of those subsidies. Um, Unless the current administration takes action to keep those intact, they are scheduled to fall away. I do think it's going to be a bit of a game time decision. I think it's very possible that in the final hour, something could change, something could happen, but I think we have to plan for the worst. And in planning for the worst, and I say the worst, the worst for our clients maybe, because if subsidies go away, their premiums are going to go up. And the potential expectation around that is that there could be 7 to 9 million people that leave the individual ACA market and transition to something else. Well, many of these people are insured today. They see the value of having insurance, but if they can't afford their ACA premium, they've got to look at creative alternatives. And that's where I think the Health Protector Guard could potentially be a really viable option. When I was in Austin, Texas, a couple of weeks ago at our national celebration event, one of the things that we talked about in our TVP meeting was that we're looking to partner with a different company, a different carrier. Medical Mutual is actually the name of the carrier, but to potentially provide a product that would sit over the top of the Health Protector Guard and put some sort of a catastrophic stop loss on that particular product. I don't know exactly what that would look like, but as I think about it, it might be something where, if a client were to accumulate 50 or $75,000 in total claims, the Health Protector Guard would cover the claims up to that particular limit, and then there'd be like this stop loss gap or this 100% coverage after that. Now, it would be additional coverage that would need to be purchased on top of the Health Protector Guard, but a Health Protector Guard with that accumulated expense rider on top of it might be a very viable solution for clients who maybe can't afford an unsubsidized or lesser subsidized health insurance premium for 2026. So I just want to continue to encourage you guys. United Health One has rolled out, or Golden Rule has rolled out the newest version of that Health Protector Guard. We're going to continue to talk about that. I think you should be a student of that and you should know that product. Right now, it's really the only other viable, somewhat comprehensive coverage that's really available because of the current status with the short-term policies. Many of you know federal regulations prevent people from buying more than 4 months of short-term insurance, and you can't buy more than one 4-month policy from the same company in a 12-month time frame. So that short-term arena has really, been decimated, I feel like. Now, there is talk that the Trump administration may bring back longer terms on short-term insurance at some point. I think there's some question about that. I think up front it seemed like a no-brainer that they would do that, but it would have to take an executive order to do that. And the reading that I've been doing seems to indicate that Trump is obviously using executive orders a lot, but he also doesn't want to use them in a way that they can be overturned because it could set certain precedents. So I think he's being cautious about using an executive order to re-implement the short-term products on 12 or 24 or 36-month chassis. So those are all just kind of things to think about a little bit. But that Health Protector Guard that Cav talked about last week, that's something you want to make sure that you do understand because it is a viable solution. And I think one of the biggest things, oh, Cav, thanks. He said there's a national training at 1 p.m. Central Time today, which would be, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, our time. So if you missed it or you're not familiar with it yet, I would absolutely jump on that training. It's not going to be recorded, but I will be sending out a recording of last week's training from Cav so that you can, review it and immerse yourself in it. When I look at that Health Protector Guard, there are definitely gaps and holes in it because it's a scheduled plan that pays up to certain caps and limits. But I will tell you, one of the big things that really offsets that is that the consumer gets access to United Healthcare's Choice Plus network or their Choice network. I think it's a choice, isn't it, Cav? Whichever it is, it's a choice or choice plus. And what that does is that gives them access to massive negotiated network discounts on every procedure that they have done. So even without the Health Protector Guard, just getting access to 60, 70, 80, 90% discounts off the top of every single bill makes everything a lot more workable and allows clients, to deal with some of those larger claims a little bit more easily. So I just wanted to put a plug in and thank Sandra and Cav for that. Um, I'm going to pivot over and share my screen here. I've got some slides that I actually put together that I wanted to get through with you guys today. I don't usually do slideshows in ADT, but I had enough content that I felt like I wanted to make sure that we covered it all. And some of this, if you're on our Indiana teams, we had discussed over the last couple of weeks, but I wanted to make sure that everybody was kind of aware of a few things. And then Cal will pivot over to you as soon as I'm finished up with this. So let me share my screen here. I'm going to go ahead and hit start here on our slideshow. You guys see my screen okay? Perfect. I just wanted to, first of all, we're halfway through the year, which is crazy to think about, right? We're now 6 months and 1 week, past the center point of the 2025 calendar year. It's obviously flown by, but I always think it's important to remember like where we're at, where we've come from, and where we're headed. And so this is a slide that I'm going to continue to share for probably all of 2024, because I think it is a testament to what we're doing nationally as an organization. These were our cash compensation numbers for 2024. And, if you look at our top 10 agents, from 2023 to 2024, they grew 19%. And the top 10 agents in the country averaged about 1.1, 1.2 million in cash comp. The top 100 had 16% growth year over year. The average income for our top 100 agents were a little over 617,000. Top 500 were a little over 271. Top 1,000 agents were a little over 167,000. And then if you look at all active agents, there was an 18% increase in cash compensation nationwide for all active agents, and the average income was $78,000. And that's for all agents, agents that are just getting started, tier one, tier two, tier three, and tier four. I show you this just to show you at least a glimpse of what you're a part of. For those of you that were able to go to Austin, you saw a much bigger picture than what I can present here locally. This is a massive organization. We're on track and put a goal out there of hitting $3 billion in sales this year. It's a stretch goal, but we're well over the 2 billion mark now. So this has become really, really big business, and you guys are a part of a massive entity that is just growing by tremendous strides every single year. I also wanted to show you for our territory, this is just for our Indiana and our Michigan teams, what our cash compensation growth has looked like this year. So this is through the end of June. This includes your back end commissions, our advances, bonuses, and lead reimbursement. And you can see that we've had about 11% growth year over year. There's been about $835,000 more money deposited into our agents' accounts this year than last year. And we're at total cash compensation for our territory of almost $8.3 million at the halfway point through the year. So that was through the end of June. And I think those numbers are always fun to look at. A few announcements that I wanted to just kind of plow through here to keep you updated on some things. I know some of you are newer agents who have gotten, maybe had some issues getting your Yext platform set up. We are in the process of rolling out a new enhanced Yext platform. And I just wanted to tell you, I just came off a TVP call. If you've not yet engaged with Yext as a new agent and you have written your first new business, now Ray Conley, you just wrote your first new business yesterday, so this might take a week to 10 days for it to kind of hit. But if you've already written first new business and you don't yet have access to Yext, I would like you to send me an email with just Yext in the subject line and just let me know you don't have access. I'm compiling a list of agents who, over the last couple of weeks or couple of months, were kind of caught in this queue where we were transitioning to the new platform, and you applied to get into Yext and you weren't able to. For those of you who have no idea what I'm even talking about, Yext is actually a third-party platform that we pay, and what Yext does is they help manage all of our online presence. And it is going to be greatly enhanced as we push forward with the new platform. These are some of the upgrades that are actually coming in August. So we're going to have the ability to push a lot of content out to various social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and anything else cool that's out there that I don't understand. It's going to be AI powered personalized content. So you're going to be able to submit content through Yext. It'll actually be compliance approved through AI, just making sure you're not saying things or putting things in there that are, completely taboo in our world. You're going to be able to manage your profiles. You're going to be able to schedule content. So if you want to build out a calendar for the next quarter or the next 6 months or the next year of content that's going to get posted on your behalf out on social media, you can do that. There's going to be a lot of back-end data and analytics as well. You'll be able to see how many people hit your website, how many people click through to quoting and enrollment, seeing those return on investment and utilization metrics. And then there's going to be photo and video publishing capabilities within the platform as well. There's also going to be a library in there of content that other agents are using with data around what is working and what's not, so that you're going to have better resources to pull on. So that is what Yext is. But if you're not yet in Yext and you've written first new business and it's registered in the system, if you could send me that email, I just don't know who you are. If you're not in, I don't have line of sight into that. But Sally Newton has asked me to put together a list of agents and work our way through that. So I wanted to mention that. I also wanted to remind all of you that we are continuing to grow. If we're going to hit 3 billion in total revenue, we do have some massive growth that needs to happen. We need a bigger army. And many of you are a part of this opportunity because someone thought you might be a good fit and they referred you into the business. And so I just wanted to remind you guys to constantly keep your eyes and ears open for great people to join our team. You know the culture of the organization. You know the kind of person you'd want to work next to. Health Markets does have a bonus out there if you refer somebody into the business and they hit their agent accelerator milestones. You can earn up to $2,500 per referral. And then on top of that, your leadership team is adding another $2,500 to that. So you have the potential to earn up to $5,000 bonus if you refer somebody into the business who hits those agent accelerator milestones. And so I just want to encourage you in that. The top candidates that we see come into this business are referred into the business. And many of you on this call were referred into the business by someone who knew you and thought you might be a good fit. I'll talk a little bit because I think one of the obstacles that we run into around agents recruiting where their feet are is oftentimes we have this misconception that there's already a lot of agents out there. And if I help someone else with their new career opportunity, it might diminish my career opportunity. And I just want to categorically say that is not the case. When you look across the numbers and the statistics at Health Markets, we are writing less than 1% of the ACA and the Medicare business that's getting written in the markets where we serve clients and where we live. Less than 1%. We are not even scratching the surface. And so there's plenty of opportunity around us. It's not going to diminish your opportunity to help someone else with a new career. So I just wanted to mention that. I did want to remind you guys, many of you may not know this, but if you go to the Agent Connect Resource Center, like I'm sorry, not the Resource Center, the Agent Connect CRM platform, where you see your leads and you see your performance and you see your income metrics, you see those tiles on there. One of those tiles is a series of podcasts that have now been launched. And Cliff Karthauser, good friend and business coach of mine, he has been interviewing many of our top agents, and those 30 to 50-minute interviews are now online, available for you to listen to and consume at your convenience. If you look at, they're kind of listed, you can see who they're with. This is a screenshot right here. You can see that Steve Cavajola was interviewed, and his talk is on there. Gary Boverhoff was interviewed. I was interviewed, along with a lot of other top agents from across the country. And so I just encourage you, as you have time, whether you're mowing the lawn, you're working out, you're driving, this is great content because these are top agents and Cliff really getting into the nuts and bolts of what's helped them be successful in the business. So if you're a podcast person or you like to, pour positive things into your mind, this is a great place to go to. And so I wanted to remind you of that. A couple of other things that I think are worth updating and reminding you of. So as we prepare for AEP and OEP, which is we're in the process of doing right now, and for those of you who might be brand new, AEP is our annual enrollment period, and that's specific to Medicare. And that runs from October 15th to December 7th. OEP is open enrollment period, and that's for under 65 ACA business. OEP runs from November 1st through December 15th. is the way it's set up right now for January 1st effective dates. But there's been some things that have been kind of bubbling and brewing in the background legislatively. And so I wanted to just go through the CMS final rule, which was posted about 2 weeks ago and published. There are some things that I think are really helpful. But this was a quick kind of overview of what they were trying to do. This particular article is entitled CMS Finalizes Major Rule to Lower Individual Health Insurance Premiums for Americans. Rules crack down on improper ACA enrollments, protects patient and taxpayer dollars, and restores marketplace integrity. And so the big thing that they're trying to do here is really strengthen this market, even though subsidies might be reduced, right? A lot of this goes back to the fraud, waste, and abuse that is ripe throughout, both our ACA and our Medicare markets. So these are kind of the big things that changed. So OEP for 2026 is going to run from November 1st through January 15th of 2026. Now, I want to be clear. You have to enroll somebody by December 15th if they want a January 1st effective date. And then you have from December 15th to January 15th to continue to enroll people in ACA plans, but it won't go effective until February 1st. So they could potentially be a month without coverage. They wouldn't be covered for the month of January. I look at that last 30 days, December 15th through January 15th, as kind of our cleanup period. That's the opportunity for all of the procrastinators, the derelicts that didn't do what they were supposed to do when they were in their timeline. It gives us an opportunity to clean some things up. Initially, they had proposed that we would not have that extra 30 days, which was going to be problematic with all the volatility that we're expecting to see this fall. So it's nice to have this. This is locked in. And then for 2027, they're backing it down by 15 or 16 days. So it's going to run from November 1st to 12/31 of 2026. So we'll be done by the end of the year 2026 with the OEP season for the under 65 market. If you're working state exchanges, those can be run a little bit differently. I don't think a state exchange can go any more than 9 weeks, but some of the state exchanges have their own flexibility to set their own dates. There are some changes to auto re-enrollments, including a $5 monthly premium for fully subsidized coverage until it's verified. So what this means is if somebody has they're very low income and they're getting a heavy subsidy and they have a $0 premium, if they do not actively re-enroll that and re-verify their income, the government's going to start charging them $5 until they verify that it should actually be zero. And the reason they're doing that is because many of these fraudulent agents out there are enrolling people in plans, and the person doesn't even know they're enrolled because it's a $0 plan. Yet it's generating a commission for that broker. Really shady stuff. So the government says, if you don't actively re-enroll and re-verify, we're going to charge you $5 so you at least know something's going on so that fraudulent agents can't just make money on people that don't even know they have coverage. So that's kind of what's going on there. So we don't have a ton of zero premium clients here in Indiana and Michigan, but just know those are going to be ones that you're going to have to actively re-enroll. You're going to have to go back through the re-enrollment process, which isn't that cumbersome, especially with Health Sherpa today, but that's going to be happening. This also eliminates the monthly special enrollment period for people who are under 150% of the federal poverty level. So several years ago, they implemented a new rule that if your income based on your household size and your adjusted gross income is below 150% of the federal poverty level, you can enroll in a plan whenever you want. Well, that doesn't promote the integrity of the pool, the risk pool, because basically poor people could wait until they got sick and the next month go enroll in insurance, and the insurance company had to insure them, right? So that doesn't promote a lot of stability. So that's going to go away. It's going to diminish our opportunity to enroll people in ACA plans year round, those lower income folks, but I understand why they're making that change. It requires confirmation of eligibility for special enrollment periods and life events. So if somebody's losing coverage and moving into a plan through a special enrollment period, 75% of the time they're going to ask for some sort of documentation around that. The documentation that I typically get is because it's usually they're losing employer coverage. So a letter from their HR department with the client's name on it, just saying they're losing coverage as of this date. It can be very simple. We upload that with the application, and that's all the confirmation that's really required. It also requires exchanges to determine if an individual is ineligible for the premium tax credit if they fail to file their federal income taxes and reconcile for 1 year. So if they're not caught up on their tax returns and they're not filing their tax returns from the previous year, they're not going to be eligible for subsidies moving forward, which again makes sense. Somebody who's consistently not filing their taxes, they shouldn't necessarily be eligible for all these government subsidies. It removes the DACA recipients from eligibility. Um, it repeals the rule prohibiting health insurers from denying coverage based on unpaid past due premiums. So, right now, if somebody has a plan and they owe a bunch of money to an insurance company because they just didn't pay, they could eventually be canceled. And then the next year, they could go apply again and get the coverage, and they had to wipe all that clean. Well, moving forward, the government's saying you don't have to wipe that clean. If the consumer owes you money, you can demand that money before you give them the insurance that they're asking for. And then it prohibits sex trait modifications from being coverage as an essential health benefit beginning in 2026. So those are some of the big changes that are actually happening. We believe that there is going to be a lot of disruption this fall. And I'll tell you, for those of you that are new, chaos and volatility breeds opportunity. Consumers are going to be shopping like they haven't shopped in a lot of years. They're going to be seeking guidance and counsel. I think it is so important right now to get your information out there, to start your marketing campaigns, to begin connecting with centers of influence, get involved in BNI groups, start your marketing, like start building out your platform, start developing those connections, because people are going to be seeking guidance, especially in September and October when they start to get their renewal letters, because things are going to be different. When I think about what we can do to prepare for this, the two biggest levers that we have to pull are technology and manpower. So for those of you that are new, you may not be able to ramp up your manpower. You may not be able to hire a lot of staff right now, but you can become a master of the technology. And there's a ton of technology that's going to be rolled out over the next 60 days that you need to make sure you understand and that you become a master of. And mastering it means studying it, watching online videos, getting engaged in the trainings, starting to use it. I think you've got to become a guru. If you're doing Medicare this fall, you've got to know Connexure. Connexure is our quoting and enrollment platform for Medicare. If you're doing under 65 ACA, you've got to know Health Sherpa inside and out. We're rolling out VanillaSoft, which is our new CRM platform. There's some online trainings going on this week, and our big territory team rollout is going to be on July 23rd. We'll be announcing that as well. And then obviously leveraging Yext for the social media presence. I think you've got to fully engage in this CRM as it rolls out, and you got to kind of work to make sure that you understand it and that your data is clean as we approach, this crazy busy season. If you're in a position where you want to ramp up your manpower, I think hiring assistants or sub agents, you got to get them on the books now. You got to get them started, right? If they're not working for you now, they're probably not going to be ready for this fall. So those are some things that I think we've got to really focus on. So as I look forward at certifications, there's some things we have to get done, and there's some things we can begin working on right now. If you're going to engage in Medicare this fall, you need to start working on your AHIP certification for 2026 now. My goal is to have our entire territory done with AHIP by the end of July. Now, cautionary statement on this. If you are just starting in your insurance career right now, and you have not yet been through an AEP OEP season, candidly, I don't think you should engage in Medicare yet. It's highly complex, it's highly regulated. There's just a lot to know. And I think most agents don't do themselves a service by engaging in Medicare their first year in the business. My suggestion, if you have not yet gone through an AEP OEP, is to focus on the under 65 space. Health insurance, supplements, and life insurance. What's on your new agent starter pack? That's where your focus needs to be right now. Get through this AEP season, and then early 2026, you can take the AHIP and begin to immerse yourself in Medicare next year. That would be my personal suggestion, and I think there's very few situations where my suggestion would be different. But for those of you who have been through your first AEP OEP season, you are beginning to engage in Medicare, you got to get that AHIP knocked out ASAP. There is a Health Markets discount link that has already been sent out. I think it gives you a $50 discount on AHIP, knocks it down to like 125 bucks. So we're focused on getting that done by the end of July. Your carrier certifications then. So once you do the AHIP, then you've got to go into the carrier certifications for the companies that you're going to be representing and do a separate certification for each one of them. I would suggest that that needs to be done by the end of August. That'll put you in a good position. Because starting in late August and early September, we're going to start our in-person carrier trainings. So that's where Gary and Tyler and Derek and I are going to start bringing in all of our carrier partners for meetings so that they can start presenting their product. If you haven't been through AHIP and you haven't been through their carrier certifications, you're not going to be in a position to really understand what's even going on for those in-person carrier trainings. So August and September is going to be very, very heavy on carriers coming in. I know if you're on our Indiana team, I literally have all 4 weeks, all 4 Fridays in September scheduled for this. So we're going to be hot and heavy on training. You're then going to have your FFM certification. So this is your under 65 ACA, your federally facilitated marketplace certification. I think that needs to be done before 10/1. I don't think it needs to be done too much earlier than that. It will be going dark here on July 11th. So they're going to be closing down the 2025 version. And a couple of weeks, maybe a month later, they'll open up the 2026 version. And you can do that anytime between now and October 1st to be ready for November 1st enrollments on that. And then last thing, Rachel, our sales assistant, had sent out an email last week. We have on the Google Drive, she shared it with all of you. We have a 2026 AHIP, FFM, and carrier certification tracker spreadsheet. It's a self-service document. So what we need you to do is go in there, and as you get AHIP, FFM, Humana, Priority Health, the various carrier certifications done, there's literally across the top are all the carriers, and you just need to check the boxes and put a check on there so we can get a picture of where we're at as a territory team when it comes to all these certifications. So be sure and update that. I'll be pushing on a few of you. If I see that we get into the last week of July and people don't have AHIP done, I'll be pushing pretty hard. So in a kind way. But I think those are things to think about. There are also some key rollout dates that I think you need to know about. So July 23rd, we are doing a transition where our sponsoring agent and sub-agent enhancements are being rolled out. Sandra, Tanya, Sherry, my staff are currently one of 2 pilot teams that are doing this right now. So if you're an assistant, if you're a sub-agent, or if you're a sponsoring agent who has people working for you, on July 23rd, we're going to move you to a different it's a different path inside of the health markets ecosystem, and it's going to give you enhanced capabilities to be able to manage your agency. You're also going to have an agency email. So we already have ours. It's jessupagency@healthmarkets.com. And I think it's going to be a wonderful tool where all of us can use that one email box to service our clients, claims, things like that, so that we can all see what's going on inside of one, like agency email system or email inbox. July 23rd, our territory VanillaSoft training is going to be from 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. I'll be sending out another reminder on this, but that's 2 weeks from this Wednesday, I think, from tomorrow. And so you want to be on that. That's our true rollout of the new CRM system, which is going to drive everything that we do moving forward. And then in August and September, we're going to be launching our Health Sherpa enhancements, our Connecture enhancements, and the Yext enhancements. So the next 30 to 60 days are going to be heavy, heavy, heavy training and launching of new technology to enable you to be able to do more during the AEP OEP season. But you've got to embrace it. You've got to understand it. I don't think there's room anymore for someone in this business to say, well, I don't really use technology. One of our CEOs, Mark Smith, a couple of years ago, he said, we used to be an insurance agency that leveraged technology. We're quickly becoming a technology organization that delivers insurance solutions. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. The call I was on this morning, we talked about leveraging AI in a number of ways for leads and things like that. There's a lot of cool stuff that's happening across the board. But you're going to get left behind if you're not immersing yourself in this and understanding the technology. I promise you, it will make your life easier. Wanted to remind you that there's a ton of trainings that are currently on the Health Markets training calendar on the Resource Center. The July and August trainings are out there. These are all the trainings that are set up for July. So if you look today at the 8th, we've got the leader overview this morning for VanillaSoft, which I'm going to jump on immediately after this. And then you've got the Health Protector Guard, that Golden Rule Insurance Company broker training at 2 o'clock today. Now keep in mind, these are always Central Time. Most of us are on Eastern Time, right? So if it's 1 o'clock Central Time, that's 2 o'clock Eastern Time, right? So it's always an hour later, if you understand time zones, which I struggle with. So that was a lot of information that I wanted to get through. I do think the last thing we want to spend a little bit of time on today, um, is really encouraging and pushing and pressing all of you to make sure that you're following the plan that you originally set when you came out of training. I would challenge many of you, if you're on my team, there's only a handful of you that are consistently sending me your performance tracker spreadsheet. And I don't do that to micromanage you. I push you to do that because that's how you manage yourself and you manage a successful practice. We can't manage the outcomes, but we can manage the inputs. How many leads are coming into your system? How many live transfers are you taking? How many people are you getting your information out to? How many outbound phone dials are you making? How many appointments are you running each week? All of those things are the key, what I call the critical measures of success in this business. And that performance tracker spreadsheet is built in a way that you can build out what are you going to be doing? You've got to have a cookbook. You don't want to be a grill master. You want to be a baker, right? Many of us have embraced the Sandler selling system over the years, and there are four things that lead to mastery of the Sandler sales system. Many of us are involved in a monthly Sandler sales training. It actually happened yesterday. And for those of you that were on it, Cav was there, Tanya was there. I don't remember who else was on it, but we had a lot of Sandros on it. We had a lot of people who joined it yesterday. And it's for people who have already been through the Sandler Foundations or Essentials course. So that's a 12-week course that we all went through. And now we're into this mastery course. And the thing that Eric Meyer, our Sandler trainer, keeps going back to is these four stages of Sandler mastery. The first one is, do you have a cookbook? Have you designed your cookbook? Number two is, are you executing that cookbook to design 100% of the time? And then the third part of it is, are we reaching out to the right people and organizations? And then the last thing is, are we saying the right things at the right time in the right way? I think many of you on this call, without casting stones, I'm not, but I think you're stuck on number one or number two. Number one, you don't have a cookbook, you don't have a plan, or if you do have a plan that you built out originally, the second piece of it is you're not executing it to design. There's two things that drive new business right now: taking live transfers and marketing yourself. Like, I don't know any other way for you to go get new business. Those are the two things that I think you have to be spending your time on. And if you're a new agent that wants to be successful in this business, my suggestion would be set a schedule. Take live transfers in the morning and in the evening and on the weekends, and then spend the heat of the day out marketing your butt off. Walk and talks, networking, BNI groups, getting involved in chambers, whatever it takes to get out there and just have conversations with people about what you do, what your capabilities are, wear your jersey, leave a trail, build your CRM, create that follow-up activity. Those are the things that are going to drive success and new sales in your business. And so I asked Cav today to take some time and to kind of recap some of the things that he covers during our third day of new agent training, really around this idea of having a cookbook and then executing the cookbook to design. So, Cav, I hope that's a good enough lead in for you, and I hope I left you with enough time. But I'd love for you to share some thoughts and kind of recap some of this. I don't think we can hear this enough. Repetition, I think, leads to implementation and retention.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's something that, we deal with Eric Meyer once a month, and every time we go back, it goes back to this cookbook. I mean, Sandler's whole business revolves around a cookbook. If you don't have a cookbook and you don't execute it, nothing else matters. Okay? Because what it comes down to is, Sandler has what's called the BAT triangle for success: behavior, attitude, and techniques. And all three of them have to work in conjunction. You have to master all three to maximize your success. The problem is, most of us on this call focus on technique. What do I say? What's the presentation? But guys, if you don't have enough people to get in front of, it doesn't matter. Behavior is the key. So let me share my screen here and kind of go over some stuff with you guys. That is, again, quite frankly, the secret to all this. So again, it's the behavior cookbook. And when you think about the behavior part of the triangle, this is how you act. And Sandler basically defines behavior as the consistent, intentional actions that you take to achieve your goals. It's the doing part of the equation, executing tasks with discipline and frequency. In sales, this includes prospecting, scheduling appointments, following up, asking for referrals, tracking progress. Okay. Now, the importance of behavior, it's considered the most critical starting point because taking action drives results, which in turn improves your attitude and refines techniques. So when you think about this success triangle, the way that you get a better attitude and better at the techniques, it all starts with your behavior. Behavior is what's going to allow you to start seeing some successes, which will improve your attitude. And just the numerous transactions and talking to people, that's what's going to help you get better at the technique. In training, you guys hear me say this all the time. You know how you get good at the presentation? Make a bunch of bad ones because they don't know what you're supposed to say. But if you're only making one or two presentations a week, you're never going to get good at the presentation. You have got to get in front of more people, and it all starts with the behavior. And so Sandler training emphasizes do the behaviors as consistent action builds momentum, even if your technique isn't perfect initially. Okay. That's how you're going to get better. Now, the key aspects of this is number one, goal setting. You have got to define clear, personalized goals with specific action steps. Number two, you have got to develop a cookbook or a prospecting plan. And number three, you need to improve your time management by using time blocking to prioritize sales activities and avoid distractions. And so here's the key concepts of the behavior triangle. Number one, it is the cookbook. This is the whole foundation of Sandler. They emphasize this behavioral plan or a cookbook, which is a structured set of daily, weekly, and monthly activities with measurable goals. This creates predictability and accountability. Activity versus results. Behavior focuses on controlled actions, not outcomes. Again, Silas mentioned this earlier. You can't control whether a prospect buys, but you can control how many calls you make. Sandler's mantra is focus on what you control, and also how you feel doesn't determine what you do. What you do determines how you feel. And here's a perfect example of that. Let's say you tell yourself you're going to walk into 25 businesses. That's your goal. But it's 100 degrees out right now, and you don't feel like walking in the businesses. And so you don't do it. But in your mind, you know you should be doing something and you're not doing it. So do you feel good or do you feel bad? But if you turn around and you make yourself do it, even though you didn't want to, when you get done, you feel better about yourself because you accomplished something. And that's what this whole thing's about. It's I have got to determine what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it regardless of how I feel. I'm going to get it done. And that in turn is going to actually help me feel better, not worse, because I'd be willing to bet there's people on this call that every day you have that little anxiety in your stomach because you know you're supposed to be doing stuff and you're not doing it. And you're coming up with all these reasons why you're not doing it instead of just go get it done. Just do it. Okay. Because again, consistency over intensity, sporadic bursts of effort are less effective than steady habitual actions. Sandler likens this to fitness. Small daily workouts yield better results than an occasional marathon. And that's what we need to do is by having this behavioral cookbook, this plan of action, what we start doing is we start developing habits. And then once you have the habits, then the cookbook can become surgical, where now I can make changes based on data. But I've got to start, even if it's small. You just start, you do consistency, and then if you have to make course corrections, you do it. But it all starts with, again, because so many people, when they think of marketing, they go out and they think, oh my God, I've got to do 1,000 of these, and it just doesn't work. Okay. You got to start small, develop the habits, Even if it's just today, I'm going to walk into 25 businesses and start doing that every day. And then you'll realize, wow, that doesn't take me a lot. I'm actually getting some results from that. So maybe I'll bump it up to 30 or 40 or 50. Okay. So what makes up the cookbook? Very first thing, and this is all provided to you in your new rep training, but it's the goals and game plans. What do I want to accomplish and what do I need to accomplish? And so taking the time to really fill this out and tell yourself what you want to do, that's the start. Because guys, if you don't have a written goals and game plan, it's a wish. It's nothing. It's what do I want to accomplish? When do I want to accomplish? Again, Silas uses the SMART goals. You got to be able to, first of all, what do I want to accomplish? Why am I even doing this? Okay. And then what do I need to do to get there? So that's the starting point. Then the second thing you need to accomplish is you need to create a schedule that will allow success. And that's where time blocking comes in. And one of the things that has worked so well for me for over 20 years is I actually predetermine what I'm going to do before I ever do it. And so here's just an example that, again, Sandra every Monday morning does a round table. So as a new rep, what I'm going to do is on Monday morning, I'm going to schedule that. I'm going to be on it every single week because there's value in it. Okay. Now, maybe from 9 to noon, I'm going to be on the phones. Maybe I'll take live transfers, but I am going to be in the office on the phones, calling leads that come in, taking live transfers. And I'm going to do that till about noon. And guys, this is what I used to do for years is every Monday at noon, I got in my car and I went somewhere. And it was either to an appointment or it was out in the field to market my business because I've been on the phone for 3 hours. I have ADHD. I'm medicated for it. I can do something for about an hour or two, and then I've got to do something else. Otherwise, I'm going to start poking my fingers with a pencil or something because I just can't stand it anymore. And so that's what I would do is I would just work at noon. I'm in my car going somewhere. It's either to an appointment or marketing my business. And then I would have another appointment scheduled at 3:30 where again, I'm either going to run an appointment, market my business, and marketing can be going back and dialing the phones again. Okay. So, and then you could pop in live transfers that evening. And that's my Monday every single Monday. Then obviously on Tuesday, I block out the ADT every week because hopefully there's value in that. And then the same thing, I've got an appointment / marketing. And so the beautiful thing about doing this, guys, is I never have to find time to market. Marketing will be on my appointment slots that weren't filled with appointments. Okay. I never have to think of, oh my gosh, I got to find time to go walk and drop. No, I do it if I don't have an appointment at 11 o'clock on Tuesday. Now, again, I could email, I could text, I could leave voicemails, I could go walk and drop, whatever it is, I don't care. It's just, with the PTS, we get 25 points for an appointment. So if I don't have an appointment, why not just do 25 points of something? Because if you do that 4 to 6 hours a day, you're going to hit your 750 to 1,000 points. Okay. You just don't even, guys, you don't even have to think about it. It's just if I don't have an appointment, my plan B is to market my business. Now, a lot of you know my story on Wednesdays. Again, for years, my wife and I have had a date morning because we have 3 kids. We didn't have time for a date night. We're running kids all over the place, or we're just tired because life is busy. So I do afternoons and evenings on Wednesdays. And again, it's the same thing. I just have 3 different appointment slots. And if I don't have an appointment, I market my business. Now on Thursday morning, because a lot of times on Wednesdays, I would get home 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, depending on where I was running. So I would start Thursday with just a phone session so I don't have to be up and at 'em. I can just get to the office or just go get on the phones and kind of ease into the day. Then some more appointments. Maybe I take some more live transfers in the evening. And then Friday afternoon, if there wasn't or Fridays, if there's not a meeting, just run appointments. But again, the other thing I always used to do is I always used to do a phone session on Friday afternoons. And the reason I like doing that is I hated calling people on Monday morning because everyone was in a bad mood because it's Monday morning. Okay. You call people and talk to them on Friday afternoons, they're in a good mood because it's Friday afternoon. And one of the things that would do is I would always be able to get 1, 2, 3 appointments Friday afternoon. Because let me tell you, if you look at your appointment book for next week and there's nothing scheduled, you go into the weekend a little panicky. But if you already have 2, 3, 4 appointments set, you can go into the weekend and you can relax a little bit. Again, you could do live transfers and stuff on Saturdays and Sundays. I quit doing that years ago, but there's a lot of our successful agents, they get most of their business on Saturday or Sunday evenings. They take live transfers on Saturday morning or Sunday evenings, and they write a lot of business. So, but the whole idea, guys, is you have to create your schedule before you even know what you're doing so that you know when your store's open, your family knows when your store's open. And if you don't have an appointment in a predetermined appointment slot, your only option is to go market your business. It's not go out and cut the grass. It's not run to the bank. It's not binge watch Yellowstone on Netflix or whatever. It's I'm going to market my business. And I will tell you guys, if you get into this habit of doing that, this business starts to run on autopilot because you just know what you're doing. And again, you're not killing yourself. If I don't have an appointment on Wednesday afternoon, I'm going to go out and just do something to get 25 to 50 points. And it just makes this business easy. A lot of people ask me, Steve, how in the heck do you do this in 40 hours without any help? I do a lot of things that are pretty simple. Okay, I don't make this more complicated than it really needs to be. During my working hours, there's only 3 things I do. I run appointments, I dial the phones, or I market my business. And I've been doing it that way for over 20 years, and it just allows me to run this business pretty seamlessly. Okay. Now, the last thing that you want to do is you want to actually create your lead creation activity goals. In other words, what am I committing to do? And if you go on the PTS tracker, you can actually develop your game plan to tell yourself what you're going to do every day. Not what I feel like doing. I'm going to determine what I'm going to do. And again, a lot of you know when it comes to marketing my business, I have one goal. I want to get my website to about 400 people a week. That's it. I don't really feel like I have to go in and convince people to meet with me. I literally just want to get my website to people so they can contact me if there's a trigger event. Because if you'll remember from training, when we talk about the modern buyer's journey, when a trigger event hits, where's the first place everybody goes? They go to the internet. So I just want to get my website out to a number of people. And again, there's all kinds of different ways you can do it. There's a lot of processes you can follow. I'm not worried about that. I just make it very simple. I just want to get my information to 400 people a week because if I do that week in and week out, someone's going to contact me. I'm going to stumble across someone who needs my help and they're going to reach out to me. And so you can go in here and you can just basically tell yourself what you need to do. And the reason I like this is if I put in a weekly goal, it tells me what I need to hit on a daily basis. Because let's be realistic, guys. All of us could walk into 30 businesses a day, Monday through Friday. Correct? Well, if we do that, that's 150 businesses we've walked into over a week. Now, if I walk into 150 businesses and I'm out and about in the field, do you think I might come across 100 business cards? either in the walk-in drops, community boards. I mean, sometimes you walk into a realtor's office, there's 20 business cards right there. So you can pull these up, and now all of a sudden I've got people that I can email. I've got people that I can call. I got people that I can direct mail. And all of a sudden, just by walking into businesses, I'm finding other people that I can call, I can text, I can email, whatever it may be. Okay. And that doesn't even count me buying leads if I still do that. So it's just one of those things where I'm going to create these activities to where I can get my information to people so that they can start contacting me. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to track my activity, because what gets measured gets done. And when I fill this out and I send it to Silas every single week, and some of you get it as well, I'm not doing this because I have to. I'm doing it because I want to, because it tells me how to run my business. And for those of you who are not doing a PTS, why in the world would you want to run a business blind? Because that's what you're doing. If you're not tracking your activity, you're running blind, period. It's like driving in a snowstorm. You have no idea what's working. You have no idea where you're going. You're just hoping something happens. And if you guys would just learn that if you will start controlling your behavior, you will start dictating what happens. That's the secret. You guys ever, what's the secret, Steve? You got to learn to control your own behavior and do the necessary activities, and then make course corrections when it comes. And so when I look at the PTS, obviously, the very first column is the direct activities. That's the emails, the text. It's those 6 things we have on the other page. And so, this was, I've kind of ramped mine up a little bit to 400, but this was last quarter, it was 300. And when I looked at the 13-week average, I got my website to 282 people a week, or almost 3,700 people. Okay. Now, when it comes to the second column, responses, I think there's four things that I track as responses. Number one, if someone responds to a direct activity, a text, an email, walk and drop, I count that. When someone calls me and says, hey, I got your name from Silas, or I got your name from my Edward Jones advisor, I count that as a response. When someone finds me on Google, how'd you find me? Well, I looked you up. Or when a client calls me and says, hey, Steve, I need dental, or I need this. So those are the 4 different things that I count as responses. Again, they responded to a marketing piece. They responded because someone gave them my name and number, because I don't ask for names and numbers. I send people business cards and say, hey, if you know of anyone I can help, give them my card. I have people finding me on Google, and then my clients call me. But guys, when you look at that, last quarter, I had 261 people reach out to me, or an average of 20 a week. Now, I'm sorry, Jim, you're the first person I can see, but if you had 20 people a week calling you and said, I want to talk to you, would that make your life a little better? Just yes or no? Exactly. Now, the other thing I track is how many of those 261 were actually referrals. So it was 27, or an average 2 a week, were actually referrals. And then 10 of the 261 were actually people that found me on the internet. So 1 a week. The reason I want to track referrals and internet is that tells me how good my process is. Because if you take people through a good process, they're going to refer you to other people even when you don't ask. And you're going to get 5-star reviews on Google, which is going to move you up the search engine. So when they do health insurance agent near me or Medicare agent near me, you're going to start popping up. Now, guys, I still buy internet leads. I average about 27 a week. I think internet leads are going to become a little bit more important once we have VanillaSoft, because we have a sister company called US Health Advisors that have been using VanillaSoft for many years now. And the guy at VanillaSoft said a lot of their business comes from old leads that are 8, 9 months old, because they can set up the system to start reaching out to these people and they start pulling people in. So building up a database, I think, is going to become more and more important. And VanillaSoft is going to let us work that database with very little effort on our part. So just stay tuned on that. Now, phone dials, guys, I don't dial the phone very often anymore. Okay. I average about 25 dials a week. And I know Silas is going to swallow really hard because that's not enough for most people. But when you have 20 people a week saying, I need to talk to you, you don't have to dial the phone very much anymore. Now, that's what you want to get to. As a new rep, you're probably going to have to dial the phone a lot more than that initially, but you want to get to the point where you don't have to spend a lot of time on the phone. But the biggest thing that I focus on is the number of contacts. I actually talked to 89 people. Out of those 89 people, I scheduled 50 appointments, which is about 56%. So that tells me either my phone script's really good because I get 1 out of 2, or let me tell you the real secret. When people are calling you, you're going to get a lot of appointments. Okay. My phone script is good, but it ain't that good. I have a lot of people calling me. Okay. But here's the other thing too, guys, is I'm a big proponent of having people schedule their own. So last quarter, I had 167 people schedule appointments all by themselves, or an average of 13 a week. So again, when you have 13 people a week that respond to a text or an email where I said, hey, go schedule your appointment, I don't have to spend any time on the phones with that. Okay. Now, when we look at my appointments, I average 10 appointments a week. 4 of them are new, 6 of them are policy reviews. I average 4 sales. My FYCRs is about 3725. My goal is 4,500 because that'll keep me in tier 4. Now, I'm not all bent out of shape about that because that 3725 is a tier 2 rate, which means at 3725 on here, I'm a lot more than the 4,500. And then I could care less about my closing percentage. Because again, I run a lot of policy reviews where we don't do anything, but we go over like long-term care stuff, and it's might be something down the road. But to end up with this, guys, then I can keep track of how many health apps, my subs, my cross sell. Again, I was at 248. Again, a 250% cross sell is kind of what I'm going for, because that means for every health plan I sell, I'm averaging 2.5 sups or life products, which means that's going to make you some money, get you FYCRs. But the most important column in this whole thing to me is the results. Because I have found that since I've been doing this for so long as I can hit 500 points a week minimum, I shoot for as many as I can, but 500's where I need to maintain. For a new person, it probably needs to be 750 to 1,000. But every week that I don't hit 500, in the notes section, I tell myself why to hold myself accountable. Okay. I don't make excuses or anything. I just say what I did. Again, last week I didn't hit my goals because I went golfing on Thursday because I wanted to. And so I did. I took the day off on Thursday, went golfing. It was really nice. I got a brand new club that Health Markets bought for me through the awards that I tried it. And Silas, you're gonna be happy when we play in the golf outing because I'm hitting it pretty darn straight right now. So but guys, that's the nice thing about this is I use this to tell myself how I'm doing. And if I learn to read this, I can make course corrections to always make sure I'm doing what I want to do. But the one thing I never have to tell myself to do is the behavior. Because I learned a long time ago that if I just learn to control my behavior and do things whether I want to or not, just get them done, good things will happen. So that's what I have, Silas. I know I went a little long, but
You're good. I do have to jump to another call, but I think some of the big thing that, and I honestly, you said it, I've seen this on social media, both on LinkedIn and Facebook here multiple times in the last couple of days. consistency over intensity, right? You don't have to run till you're ragged. You just have to be consistent. It's the same thing with how you eat. It's the same thing with how you exercise. It's the same thing with how you build your relationship with your kids or your wife. Like it's just consistency over intensity. And I just challenge all of you, if you don't have a cookbook, you should take the rest of this week to work on your cookbook. If you have a cookbook, but you're not executing it to design, you should take the rest of this week to figure out what do I have to do to execute my cookbook to design, or maybe tweak the cookbook a little bit. You have all of the tools. You have your goals and game plan. You have your PTS. You have your map of life. Like those are the tools that we try to provide for you to help you build your cookbook. And Steve's done a great job of going over this. I'll be sending out this video so you guys can kind of review it. But to me, that would be the biggest challenge. I think those of you who are consistently, because I know who you are, who are sending your PTS to myself or to your sales leader, you're the ones who are seeing some nice progress in your business. Many of you who might be floundering or not, don't have any traction, or don't, aren't making any headway right now. I mean, there's a direct correlation to whether or not you have a cookbook and whether or not you're executing it candidly. So, I hope
Well, and can
this.
I add one thing, Silas?
Sure.
The people that say they're going to do stuff and don't do it, the only person you're hurting is yourself. And if you have a family, you're really hurting your family. If we all had this attitude that, Sandler calls it burning your bridges, where the attitude should be, if I don't make this work, my family's going to lose everything because I have no more opportunities. Because a lot of people, I'll give this a try, or they're not running their business, they're trying. They're not making it happen. If you had that attitude where if I don't make this happen, my family's going to lose everything, do you think your behavior might be a little bit different than those who are trying this?
Well, and I'd also just say, I know some of you are not in a position. Some of you have had success in other careers. Some of you have had, the opportunity to stockpile a bucket of cash, and your family situation may or may not depend on whether or not you're successful here. But I do think if you have that mentality and that mindset, especially in the beginning, it's going to drive you to the point where you do find success here. Because I don't think anybody's here. Nobody came into this business saying, I'm not looking to be successful at this, right? So it's having that success mindset, I think, more than anything. But Cab, I appreciate all you've done today, continuing to pour into the team. Hopefully, there's some nuggets here for all of you. I'd encourage you, if you are on my sales team and you want to reach out and talk about your cookbook or reevaluate your PTS, I'm open to doing that. If you're on someone else's sales team, Derek or Tyler or Gary, reach out to them. They are more than willing to sit down and have this conversation with you if you need input from somebody else who's been successful in the business. We want to help you all find success, but this is the time of year where you got to figure this out. You got to grind, you got to plant the seeds so that we can have a huge harvest this AEP OEP season. So, Sandra, you had a question. I'm
Nope,
right.
just one last suggestion. Find an accountability partner with each other and keep each other accountable.
I think that's a wonderful idea. We're all self-employed and having business partners to run next to. We've had many agents across the country and the territory that have done that really, really well. So, friends, I got to fly. I hope you all have a great week. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.